few days ago, I made a video where I talked about some of my favorite long rap songs, and because that did well, let's flip the script and talk about some short ones. The last video will be linked in the comments and description, by the way, so don't worry. Also, this video is going to be a lot shorter, much like the songs, since I don't know how much lyrical depth I can find. Anyways, let's get into this. In the early 2000s, producer Madlib would start working on a collab album with MF Doom. In November of 2002, Madlib would then go on a flight to Brazil. During his time in the country, he would collect several different samples, which would end up leading to some of the tracks on Madvillain. Anyways, during Madlib's stay in Brazil, he would end up burning 15 songs onto a disc, which would then be stolen out of his hotel room and put online. This then halted production on the album for a little while, before Doom and Madlib would of course eventually come back to it, releasing it on the 19th of March in 2004. The original leak would in turn lead the collab album to have sky-high expectations, which would lead their label Stone Star Records to have low expectations. Thankfully, they without a doubt delivered. The album would become the highest selling album in the label's history, and would also end up being one of the greatest albums critically, being ranked 5th in the world on Rate Your Music for all albums. Unlike last time, there's a plethora of short songs to be chosen on Madvillain, with almost all of them being around the 2-minute mark. So rather than going for the shortest exactly, I went for something a bit longer, with more substance. Accordion. The song caps out at 1 minute and 59 seconds, which makes it the longest song in this video, which is a bit funny. It also samples the song Experience by an LA-based producer named Alfred Darlington, who goes by the stage name Daedalus. Darlington would also be featured in the music video for the song, which is the thumbnail for this video. The song itself, much like most of Doom's work, has some extremely complex rhyme schemes, playing off of several concepts, with the opening line hitting different following the villain's passing. The beat would be one of the first he'd hear from the Madvillain sessions, and Doom himself said that the song was more like a freestyle verse, as the beat was extremely catchy when he first heard it, and he just wanted to write to it. Rest in power to the villain. On the 15th of July 2008, Nas dropped his 9th studio album, which would go untitled. Originally, Nas wanted to title this album the N-word, with the hard R, but due to controversy surrounding the word and the annotations that come with it, he was forced to change it, which is ironic seeing as in a way he was stopped from reclaiming the word. The album itself deals with and touches on a lot of racial issues. With Obama's presidency on the horizon, it was a time of political upheaval, and this album reflected that. Departing his more classic sound, Nas would instead go for a more political tone with most songs, with that being clear in Project Roach. Something I feel like I somewhat touched on last time is that the length does not equate quality. You can have fantastic short songs and terrible long songs. This right here is a prime example of the former. Project Roach is just 1 minute and 49 seconds long, and it touches on the racial divide in a white America and how black people are treated like roaches in the country. It uses several metaphors, similes, and pieces of imagery to bring this point across in the track. The album throughout really goes political and touches on all the things that would start to shift in America around the time that Obama would be campaigning. But unfortunately, due in part to the name change and the shift in sound from Nas's previous work and what was popular at the time, the album would get overlooked, slipping into the cracks. Thankfully, however, it seems like it has somewhat gained a bit of a cult classic status, which is great since this album is really something special and definitely overlooked. Now I'm not gonna lie to y'all and say that Lil Yachty has some of the best lyricism in this video. In all honesty, it's kinda unfair to put him with the rest of these guys. But he is a good artist. His newer works are pretty great, with the somewhat rap rock sound. Anyways, Coffin was a surprise drop on October 1st during 2020, which was almost 5 years ago at this point, which is just wild. Those COVID days were crazy to live through. Anyways, the song would drop on YouTube with unfinished mixing as a music video before I dropped it on SoundCloud on the 3rd. Then, due to it blowing up on TikTok, he would fix up the mixing and drop it officially on streaming on the 24th. The song lyrically isn't anything special, with Yachty comparing how he puts a girl to sleep during sex to how a dead person lays in a coffin. But let's be honest, listening to someone like Yachty, you're not looking for lyricism, you're looking for production. And this song has got some pretty great 808 focused producing. The beat was done by Buddha Bless, Earl on the Beat, and Jabs, who will have their producer tags at the start of the song. The song would also then be added to the deluxe version of Yachty's album, Lil Boat 3, that had been released earlier in the year. The deluxe, titled Lil Boat 3.5, would then drop a little over a month after the surprise drop on Coffin on November the 27th. I can't lie, I don't have too much more to say on this, so let's go into the next song.
And then here is what the heroin bore you, and I also got a large pot of cigarette oil.
At this point, it's pretty clear that Lil Wayne is washed. Honestly, if you thought he was right for the Super Bowl back when Kenny got announced the headline, I feel bad for you. Nonetheless, him being washed simply can't undermine his legacy. On the 22nd of June 2004, Weezy would drop his 4th studio album and first installment to his legendary The Carter series, which unfortunately isn't on streaming. Nonetheless, this album would be, for the most part, produced by the Cash Money in-house producer, Manny Fresh, before his departure. The final track on the album is actually also the shortest in the video today, sitting at only 1 minute and 8 seconds long. The album itself somewhat serves as a house tour, with Weezy taking us through his house and walk in, inside, and walk out. The intro, midpoint, and outro to the album respectively, with the songs all sharing the same beat. Walkout is the conclusion of the house tour, as Wayne takes us back downstairs and kicks us out, not inviting us to re-listen to the album and to just leave, slamming the door in our face. This would then start off the legendary Carter series, which unfortunately ended off far worse than it began. Nonetheless, this is an amazing album, which hopefully will come to streaming someday. There you have it, some short rap songs. Also, much like the length of these songs compared to the last, the video is also much shorter. But don't worry, I'll be back soon enough to dissect some more long rap songs. So until next time, thanks for all the love you showed me on the last video essay. Maybe subscribe, and stay comical. Bye bye.